All right, let's talk about something that drives AI teams absolutely crazy. You get two super smart experts to look at the same AI and they give you completely different scores. What is going on there? And, more importantly, why does it matter so much?
So picture this. You've got two highly qualified people, both at the top of their game. They look at the very same AI-generated text. One of them says, "Wow, this is fantastic." The other one says, "This is terrible." Who's right? Who do you listen to? And this kind of thing happens constantly. Expert A gives it a solid 4 out of 5, excellent. Meanwhile, expert B slaps it with a 2, poor. I mean, we're not talking about a tiny little disagreement here. This is a massive gap in what good even means. Now, when this happens, the first, almost knee-jerk reaction is always, it must be a training problem, right? The thinking is, our experts just aren't on the same page, let's give them better instructions, more training, and poof, the problem will just vanish. And you know what? Sometimes that helps. But way more often, the real issue is lurking much, much deeper.
And this is where we really get to the heart of it. What if the people aren't the problem at all? What if the very ruler you're using to measure things is broken? See, we often treat this as an issue of precision, just getting everyone to say the same thing. But the real problem is usually one of validity. Are we even measuring the right thing to begin with?
So let's nail this down, because it's super important. There are two key ideas here: reliability and validity. Reliability, you can think of that as precision. It's just about being consistent. If you measure something over and over, you get the same result. But validity, that's about accuracy. It's about truth. Is your measurement actually correct? The best way to think about this is the classic bathroom scale analogy. Let's say your scale tells you you're 5 pounds heavier than you really are, every single day. Well, that scale is perfectly reliable. It's super consistent. But it's not valid, right? It's consistently wrong. What you really want, what we all want, is a scale that's both reliable and valid. One that gives you the correct weight every single time.
So when you see that low agreement between your experts, it's basically a flashing red light. It's a huge sign that your construct, that's the fancy word for the specific idea you're trying to measure, is just poorly defined. Things like quality or safety or helpfulness sound so simple, but they can mean wildly different things to different people.
For example, maybe your rating guide says a 3 out of 5 is acceptable. Okay, but what does acceptable actually mean? For one of your experts, it means, hey, there are no factual errors here. But for the other, it means the writing style is engaging and flows well. They're not just disagreeing on the score. They're fundamentally measuring two completely different things.
And look, this isn't just some abstract academic debate. Using a broken ruler to measure your AI's performance, well, that has some serious and honestly pretty dangerous real-world consequences.
First, you can end up shipping a totally flawed product. Your internal metrics, your spreadsheets, they all look amazing. They say the system is 89% effective, so you launch it. But then, in the real world, users hate it. They find it's full of problems. Your evaluation was measuring something, but it sure wasn't measuring the kind of quality that real people actually care about.
Second, and this is a big one, you can accidentally build and hide systematic bias. Let's say your evaluation works great for English, but it's totally unreliable for Spanish. Your overall scores might look pretty good, but you've just launched a system that gives a much, much worse experience to all of your Spanish-speaking users. Your broken ruler completely hid that massive disparity. And finally, there is a huge legal risk. If your AI causes real harm out in the world, you can bet regulators are going to come knocking. And if they dig into your data and find it's just filled with disagreement, that's not just a quality problem. That's documented proof of negligence. Your own broken measurement system becomes the evidence they use against you.
Okay, so the problem is clear, and the stakes are pretty high. But here's the good news. There is absolutely a way to fix this. So let's walk through a simple 4-step plan to get it right. The very first thing, and honestly, this is the most important part, is a mindset shift. You have to stop treating low agreement like a failure you need to hide or fix. Instead, you need to see it as a powerful diagnostic tool. It's a clue. It's your data telling you that something deeper in your process is broken, and it's pointing you right to where the fix is needed. So here's the playbook, ordered from what works best to your last resort. Step 1. Always start by fixing the rubric. This is almost always the root of the problem. Make your definitions razor sharp, add tons of concrete examples of what's good and what's bad. Step 2, once that rubric is rock solid, then you can retrain your experts on it. See, training is pretty useless if the ruler is bad. If you're still having issues, you can move to step 3, rater selection. That just means finding experts who seem to naturally get what you're trying to do. And finally, if all else fails, step 4 is to redesign the task itself. Sometimes the question you're asking is just too broad or too fuzzy to be measured well in the first place.
Okay, so after all that, this might sound a little weird, but let me ask a question. What if getting everyone to agree perfectly isn't actually the right goal?
This leads us to something really fascinating called the agreement paradox. Think about trying to rate an AI's answer to a controversial political question for fairness. People have genuinely different and equally valid ideas about what fair even is. If you force all of your raters to use one single definition of fairness, you haven't actually found the truth. You've just erased every other perspective and decided that one viewpoint is the right one. In cases like that, the disagreement, that's the real data.
So, how do we tie all this together? Let's boil it all down into a super simple checklist you can use to make sure you're focused on what really matters, building a valid measurement.
If you take away just one thing from this whole discussion, please let it be this. Agreement is a useful tool, but it is not the goal. The goal is, and it always has to be, valid measurement. You want to be absolutely sure your ruler is measuring the right thing and measuring it accurately. So here are 3 things you can literally do this week to put this into action. 1. Go on a hunt. Dig into your data and find the exact places where agreement is the lowest. That's your treasure map to where your ruler is broken. 2. Standardize. Decide what good enough agreement looks like before you even start a project. And 3. Always run a pilot. Test every new evaluation task with a small group first. You'll catch these problems early before you waste a ton of time and money.
And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. In the work that you're doing, are you just chasing the easy, comfortable feeling of having everyone agree with each other? Or are you doing the harder, much more important work of actually pursuing a true, valid measurement of quality? Because that choice, well, it makes all the difference in the world.